is Ricardo Ramirez. I am an alumni of One Future, and I am also a team member of One Future. At One Future, our mission is to help all students graduate, prepare for college, career, and life. Our mission is not only caring about your university journey, but also your life. We want all of you to be successful. I want to give a special thank you to the Anderson Children's Foundation and to Brianna Uhorn for sponsoring us and for her generosity in investing in our students. Also, as a friendly reminder, I do want to encourage all of you to follow us in social media. We do have an OFCV official account for Instagram. It's One Future CV. And for this cohort specifically, we have One Future CV 20_21. So please make sure to follow us as we post resources and opportunities. Also, please be respectful for all questions and comments. It is a friendly environment, so please, let's have a conversation. Any comments or questions are welcome. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave it in the chat feature and the Q&A box. For today's presentation, we're going to be focusing about behavior eating habits. I want you guys to reflect on your eating habits and how your eating habits can improve your academic performance. After this presentation, I want you to also reflect on what are some things that you can begin to do to change these habits. At this moment, I want to give it away to Cristal Salcido. Cristal is an alumni of One Future, and she is currently at medical school. If I'm not mistaken, I think she finished her first year at medical school, so congratulations. And with no further ado, I want to bring on Cristal. So Cristal, it's all yours.
Thank you, Ricardo, so much. And just to start off, I'm seeing your responses on the chat box, and yeah, I think you guys are all, right. I'm not going to be talking about everything that you guys mentioned in the chat box. I will talk a little bit about self-care and cognitive activity, but more so focusing on the food part. But you guys are right on it with that, so good job. And so this is my presentation, so Feeding Your Brain. A little bit about me. I was born and raised in India. Oh, Ricardo, you can actually go on to the next slide. So I was born and raised in India by two immigrant parents from Mexico. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I went to La Quinta High School. I was part of the Medical Health Academy. Coming out of high school, I was fortunate enough to receive, I didn't put it on here on the slide, but as Ricardo mentioned, I am an alumni. I did receive the COD Alumni Scholarship in conjunction with the One Future Scholarship. So it was the One Future COD Alumni Scholarship that I got for all 3 years I was at COD. And I also was able to intern for One Future. So I was a student intern all 3 years that I was at COD as well. And thanks to One Future and the doors that they opened up for me, I was also able to participate in the Health Career Connections One Future Coachella Valley internship. So I did 2 of those. In 2014, in the summer of 2014, I interned at Desert AIDS Project, their Get Tested Coachella Valley campaign more specifically. That was really fun, did a lot of community work. In the next summer in 2015, and this is the one that kind of changed things for me, my trajectory a little bit, was the Regional Access Project Foundation. They had a mental health initiative. So they had me kind of conduct research, conduct focus groups, and ultimately I created a blueprint for a mental health app for youth that later Safe House of the Desert ended up adopting a lot of the features that I recommended and created the What's Up Safe House app. So I got a little something to do with that, which I'm really proud of. I am a first generation college student. And just to elaborate a little bit about what I meant by that kind of changed things a little bit. I was your traditional pre-med student, going for the MD. After this internship, I realized I was interested in mental health. I was seriously considering switching career goals to something in the mental health field. And a Regional Access Project Foundation connected me to what would be my first employer coming out of college. And I see there's a question. Oh, never mind. Sorry, that was just you recording. Okay. So yeah, I decided to work. But before I get there, I am a first generation college student. I went to COD alumni. As I mentioned already, I got my associates in biology. I graduated in 2014. I was also president of the COD Alumni Scholarship Club there during my time at COD. Once I transferred to UCR, I actually ended up switching to Chicano Studies. And in there, I was part of quite a few of their pipeline programs, the Future Physician Leaders Program, which I actually had been involved in since coming out of high school, mini medical school, Riverside Free Clinic, and Health Coach program. So those are all really great programs, and I can go on and on about them, but if you have any more questions about them, I can answer those. And as I mentioned, I worked at Latino Commission Counseling Center. It's a counseling center located in Coachella, and I worked there for 3 years. It was great. I loved it. I was happy that I was able to give back to my community. I was considered, officially a professional working in the Coachella Valley. That was always a big dream for me. And thankfully, with the experience that I got there, I was able to refine my career goals and ended up finding my current path that I am on right now, which I'm very fortunate of. And so the year before starting medical school, I actually ended up leaving Latino Commission to work for One Future a little bit and working with the regional plan. And that was really fun, being able to work with the team again. And then finally, I went to school. So I just, as Ricardo mentioned, finished my first year. It was really fast. I am studying for my MD, but I also plan on applying on further master's in counseling psychology, which I'll be applying to next summer, I believe, or maybe even sooner. So that's the little snapshot of kind of my trajectory. Moving on, I know the theme is transcending adversity and cultivating leadership. And so I thought it was a good idea to share with you guys my mission statement. It was a mission statement I created my first quarter of medical school. One of my professors had us basically brainstorm this for ourselves. And I took a good while on it, and I'm really proud of it. So I wanted to share it. So my mission statement as of now is to nurture, educate, and empathize with humanity so as to strengthen the wholeness, mindfulness, and peace in myself and others. And so I wanted to break it down a little bit. And the nurture and educate, that is for me a huge part of cultivating leadership. And actually, when I thought about it, it was something that One Future had a direct influence on me. I realized the whole nurturing and educating is something that they do all the time. It's part of their work. And so it really, they really modeled that for me really well. And I think that's why I emphasize it so much. Empathize, so empathy, right? We all face adversity, and to overcome, to transcend that adversity, empathy is very crucial. Empathy for ourselves, self-empathy, and empathy for others. That's the only way we can really overcome that. And the wholeness, mindfulness, and peace, again, those are all qualities that I believe go into cultivating leadership. We want whole, mindful, peaceful leaders in the community. So I think that that's ties in nicely. So yeah, and I saw there was a question. Why did you change your major from biology to Chicano studies? So yeah, actually, I'd had a lot of students actually ask me this. So by the time I did 2 quarters of at UCR still as a biology major. For me personally, I realized the courses were becoming very heavy on genetics, and I'm actually not a big fan of, I realized that I was not I love Punnett squares. I love, all that, the basic genetics, but I realized all the little codes and stuff. I was not having fun with it anymore, to be honest with you. And by that time I had already finished all my pre-med requirements. I said, you know what, it won't hurt. Chicano studies has always been something that's interested me. I don't regret it one bit. Switching over, I learned so much that gave me much more context to why things are the way they are, especially in the Coachella Valley. with the economic inequalities and just all kinds of things, structural racism, which obviously is very relevant to today's time. So thankfully with that major, I was able to, again, just learn so much and give me more context, and I think just make me a more well-rounded individual and honestly applicant for medical school. I think there's a big misconception out there that you have to be a science major to apply to medical school, and that's not the case as long as you have your pre-med requirements, your chemistry, biology, physics, calculus. So once you have those basic, medical school requirements, you can major in pretty much anything. And I actually kind of, in my opinion, I would recommend that just to make you a more well-rounded applicant, and you'll benefit obviously from it, from the knowledge, which I know I did greatly. So yeah, that's why I decided to change. So disclaimer, I'm gonna be, giving more information about nutritious foods and things like that, but this is not to be taken as medical advice. This is for informational purposes only. So this is just to cover my butt. So moving on, before we dive into, healthy foods, I kind of just wanted to give a little snapshot of kind of what naturopathic medicine, how we work. It is different from your traditional allopathic medicine that you see, traditionally, mostly in hospitals and clinics and stuff like that. But one thing that I really truly appreciate from naturopathic medicine is their therapeutic order and the way they prioritize things, right? And so we start off first by establishing a foundation. So establish the foundation of optimal health. So what that means is, looking at all the determinants of health, which I'm sure many of you have already heard of. If you haven't already, determinants of health is just all things that can influence one's health, right? So that could be diet, they're very obvious ones, but it could also be just like accessibility to a park. Do you live in a neighborhood that has a park, within walking distance? That's a health determinant. So that's another example. Then we move on to stimulate the self-healing. One of the principles of naturopathic medicine is that there's a self-healing power in nature, and that our bodies are intelligent enough to heal themselves so long as we support it. And so, we move on to that, stimulating the self-healing. A good example of it is a fever. When our bodies are having fevers, that's actually the body healing itself. So it's important to help let the body do that instead of suppressing the fever and then prolonging the disease. And then moving on to supporting and restoring weakened systems. So, we can make lifestyle changes that can help reverse some damage that's been done, and also then strengthen, right, further. And so for today's presentation, it's going to be more in the green. We're not going to move so much up into the yellows and the reds. So just to give you guys a little more context as to where we're going to be focusing on. Okay, so moving on, determinants of health. So this is the first, step in the therapeutic order. So in here, I'm equating determinants of brain health with pillars of brain health. These terms are used interchangeably when it comes to this, but the first one is physical and general health. So obviously that's a no-brainer, right? So things like hypertension, diabetes, obesity, obviously depression, head trauma, high cholesterol, smoking, all increase the risk of dementia and other, cognitive issues. So getting your annual checkup, following your doctor's recommendations, getting engaged in a brain healthy lifestyle for your body and for your mind is key, right? For brain health and for all health. Then nutrition, that's in both, because we will be talking more about that. But you eat smart, you think better. So, I'm sure we've all heard, you are what you eat. As you grow older, your brain is exposed to more harmful stress due to lifestyle and environmental factors, resulting in a process called oxidation, which I'll talk more about. But oxidation basically just damages brain cells, kind of like a rust on a handlebars, or if you've ever seen a banana, if you peel it and you let it kind of sit for a while and it gets browner, that's what's happening. That's oxidation. So foods rich in antioxidants, which we'll talk more about, can help fend off these harmful effects. Sleep, that's huge. And I know as college students, it can be very hard to get enough of this, but I highly recommend prioritizing this because it's really, I mean, it's if you're not, then you're going to be going through college kind of like, you know, kind of like when you fill up your car with gas. And I know I've been there. I know the struggle where you only put like $5 in, you know, just to get yourself from point A to point B. But that's kind of what it feels like when you're not getting enough sleep. You're just barely making it, and you're really not functioning at your optimal capacity. So sleep is very important. You know, it improves your mood, your immune system. It also reduces, it may reduce the buildup in the brain of this abnormal protein called beta amyloid plaque, which is actually associated with Alzheimer's disease. So practicing meditation and managing stress can also help fend off you know, this and promote brain health, you know. So physical activity. Oops, sorry, I'm just seeing now that there's another question. Oh, alrighty. So physical activity, your body. So oh, sorry, Ricardo, I still haven't finished the other slide. So people who exercise regularly have a lower risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. It improves blood flow and memory. It stimulates chemical changes in the brain that enhance learning, mood, and thinking. Cognitive activity. So I know some of you guys put that in the chat box. You're right on with that. Your mind is just like a muscle. You know, you use it or you lose it. So mental exercise improves your brain functioning and promotes new brain cell growth. It decreases your likelihood of developing dementia. Socialization, that's a huge one. I'm sure you guys have all seen the, you know, themes in movies where someone's alone in the world and they end up going mad, and that's a big part of it. You know, we need social interaction for a healthy brain. So staying connected, you know, and I know right now it's a bit difficult with the times we're in, but you know, there's many other ways we stay connected. Like right now we're doing it through Zoom. So text, anything, you know, but making sure that you're staying connected is very important. Leading an active social life can protect you against memory loss, spending time with others, engaging in stimulating conversation, you know, staying in touch and connected with family and friends. Studies have shown that most social interaction in the community experience the slowest rate of memory decline, those most socially interactive. Okay, that was a lot. The self-healing brain. So now moving on to the next tier. So we've already talked about the determinants of health. Now we're talking about the brain itself and how it itself has self-healing abilities. So I'm not sure if you guys have heard of neuroplasticity, but that's basically the brain's ability to morph, change, and heal. And this is especially useful in learning and after injury. So each neuron is connected to a number of different neurons through synapses. And these synapses are basically connections that are made either weaker or stronger with experiences. So again, like muscles, the more we use or activate a certain neuron connection through our experiences, the stronger the synapse will be. New synapses can form, which can help us learn new things and adapt to our environment. And as I mentioned already, it contributes to the process of healing. Even when certain, this is the part that I find so fascinating, even when the certain neurons die, the brain can rewire itself to find new pathways to basically exhibit the same function that was lost with that neuron cell death, which I think is amazing. Children's brains are obviously more plastic than adults, constantly changing. But in adults, the brain is fully developed around age 25. And although no neurons are forming, the connections between neurons are still strengthening, or as I mentioned already, weakening. This allows us to form memories and learn from our experiences. And again, the healing process. The healing, when neurons are weakened or die from an injury, the same growth factors that are present in a child's developing brain are activating, which helps our neurons heal. So it just goes to show that even though our brains are fully developed at age 25, there's still a lot going on. And then lastly, supporting and restoring the brain. So this is that third tier. As I mentioned, to do this, we need to address the determinants of health, which will be focusing more on nutrition. And then also keeping in mind the brain's self-healing abilities. So, you know, as we talk about brain food, you know, just keep these two things in mind, that we're working in this realm of the therapeutic order. And now brain food. Okay, so now to what we all came here for. Actually, Ricardo, can you skip a couple slides? That one. And before I dive in, I wanted to ask any brain foods in specific, and you guys can drop them in the chat box, of any brain foods you guys may know right now off the top of your head. No Googling. You guys can drop it in. Okay. Nuts. Yeah. While you guys are answering, I'll talk a little bit more about this. So obviously the foods we eat can play a big role in supporting brain health and its functions like memory, cognition, concentration, which are all huge, especially if you're a college student. Memory, cognition, concentration, that's very important. The brain uses about 20% of the calories we eat each day to operate. 20%, that's a pretty good chunk. So therefore, what we eat can have a huge impact on both the structure and the health of our brains. And let me see what else. Yeah, nuts, fruits, almonds, carbs, carrots, vegetables, omega, green tea, fish, lentils, berries, antioxidants, natural fats, and avocados, vegetables, carrots. Yes, natural, healthy fats. Perfect. Yes, well, some of the foods you guys mentioned in the chat box I did put in here, and some I didn't. It just goes to show there's so many out there. But I'm going to start off first with plant-based foods. So yes, the first one was nuts and seeds. It's so funny that the first comment was nuts, because that's actually the first food I'm gonna share. So yes, nuts and seeds are great. They're low in saturated fats. They're also higher on both monosaturated and polyunsaturated fats. So, you know, they're low in saturated fats, good in the higher in the good fats. Research shows that higher consumption of nuts is associated with better aging brain function. Rich sources of snooze. My computer wants to restart. Research shows that, you know, nuts and seeds are really high in antioxidants. They have a lot of vitamin E. Their vitamin E is found higher in sunflower seeds, almonds, and hazelnuts. Studies have validated the significant role of vitamin E in protecting the central nervous system, as well as cognitive performance in terms of learning, memory, and emotional response, which is also huge. Nuts and seeds are also important sources of minerals like selenium, especially selenium is especially high in Brazil nuts. Zinc, found in pumpkin seeds, and many others. Selenium is linked to motor performance, coordination, memory, and cognition. So the gist of it is nuts and seeds has a lot of great stuff. Vitamin E, selenium, other vitamins and minerals for your brain. So berries, moving on. So again, you know, the high in antioxidants, that's going to be huge. That's a huge theme throughout this presentation. Again, I'll talk a little bit more about oxidative stress in a bit, but yes, huge. So berries like strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries are all high in antioxidants. They also have a high level of flavonoids called anthocyanidins, which is the compound responsible for making the berries that dark blue, purple, red color, which those actually can cross the blood-brain barrier. It's basically when the blood-brain barrier, what I mean by that is just the blood surrounding the brain that's feeding the brain, okay? So where they concentrate, so these anthocyanidins, they concentrate in these areas of learning and memory and help in those areas of learning and memory. So in other words, they encourage neuron and blood vessel growth in areas in the brain involved in memory and learning. Hopefully that makes sense. So blueberries have also demonstrated an ability to improve measures of memory, such as word recall after just 12 weeks of consumption. I know 12 weeks sounds like a lot, but that's actually just like a semester for you guys, right? Or a quarter in between there. And a little bit more about the blood-brain barrier, just to give you guys a bit more information. It protects against circulating toxins and pathogens that could cause brain infections, and also allows for vital nutrients to reach the brain. So in this case, the barriers are providing those anthocyanidins to the brain, which is promoting growth in the area of memory and learning. Okay. So just giving you guys a little bit more of the science behind why these foods are good for you. I think it matters. It's important. I think once we know the science behind it, it's easier to kind of follow the recommendations. You're more motivated, I should say, to follow. So moving on to greens, that's obviously a really big one for all kinds of good health. So kales, chard, spinach, bok choy, broccoli, they're all rich in vitamins and nutrients that support the brain structure and function. Vitamin K, they're a good source of vitamin K, which is, vitamin K is mostly important for blood coagulation, but it's also great for brain health. So it's involved in the production of a specific type of fat-based molecule called a sphingolipid. And this sphingolipid is part of the cell membrane. They're the ones that form the membrane of the nerve cells in the brain. So basically, vitamin K is necessary for the production and maintenance of that cell membrane. It's also other protein-based biomolecules depend on vitamin K, which play a number of roles in cellular communication as well as growth and survival of nerve cells and the specialized glial cells that are responsible for supporting and insulating neurons. So basically, everything that has to do with the neurons and its structure, vitamin K is a key player in that. So you want to make sure you're getting a healthy dose of greens in your diet. All right, so we talked about plant-based foods. Now we're going to focus more on foods rich in omega-3 fatty acids, which some of these foods are going to be plant-based as well. There is some overlap. But omega-3s are found naturally in some foods and are added to some fortified foods. You can get an adequate amount of omega-3s by eating a variety of foods. They're found in foods such as fish, flaxseed, and dietary supplements such as fish oil. There's 3 main omega-3 fatty acids that I'm going to talk about. I won't say their long names, but it's ALA, EPA, and DHA. So ALA is an essential fatty acid. And whenever you hear essential, the word essential in nutrition, like an essential fatty acid or an essential nutrient, what that means is that the body cannot make it. So you must get it from something that you either eat or drink, something that you consume. So your body can convert ALA into EPA and then to DHA, but only in very small amounts. So therefore, getting enough EPA and DHA from foods and dietary supplements is the only practical way of increasing your levels of omega-3 fatty acids in your body. Okay, so this isn't naturally occurring in your body. So the first one we're going to talk about, which I'm sure you guys always, fish and other seafood, especially cold water fatty fish such as salmon, mackerel, tuna, herring, and sardines. These are high in DHA and EPA. And again, just a little bit more on EPA and DHA. They are critical for normal brain function and development throughout all stages of life, not just child. The maintenance of normal brain function throughout life. They're abundant in cell membranes of brain cells, preserving cell membrane health and facilitating communication between brain cells. So similar to vitamin K in that sense. In older adults, the lower levels of DHA in the blood have been associated with smaller brain size, a sign of accelerating brain aging. So yes, it is important to get these fish oils, these omega-3s. Moving on to nuts and seeds, such as flax seeds, chia seeds, and walnuts. What's great about flax seeds and chia seeds, you can add those so easily to your shakes. You don't even taste them or anything. So for those of you who like to drink shakes or want to get in the hang of it, that's want to start doing that, that's one ingredient that I highly recommend, flax seeds and chia seeds. This one, they're higher in the ALA omega fatty acid, and yep, that's all I have on that. So, plant oils. So plant oils, wait a second, yeah. Plant oils such, again, flaxseed oil, soybean oil, and canola oil. When you look up these oils, there's going to be, and this is why, you know, anything that you are getting from this presentation, make sure you're double checking with your own self and your you know, if you have any medical conditions with your doctor, you know. And going back to the greens, some greens may not be advisable for people with certain conditions. So again, you know, before making any major dietary changes, please consult your physician or, you know, at least do more research on it. because yeah, there's some things that can be happening in your biochemistry when taking some of these foods. But I won't go into detail about that. And then lastly, fortified foods. So foods such as eggs, yogurt, juices, milk, soy beverages. And again, you know, some people may have diet intolerances to some of these foods, which is why I say, you know, please be careful. And then the last group of foods that I'm going to be talking about. Okay, which of the three omega-3s are essential? The EPA and DHA. EPA and DHA. So more brain foods. So these are foods that I just couldn't categorize, that I just wanted to throw out there. So as previously mentioned, the brain is highly susceptible to oxidative stress, which increases during aging. And it's a major contributor of the degenerative breakdown of nerve cells. So the oxidative stress affects all parts of the body. The brain is not an exception. So some foods that can help with that is dark chocolate. You guys did mention this one in the chat box. Well, you guys mentioned chocolate, but more specifically dark chocolate. And I know that's not the sweetest of them. But it is particularly a rich source of antioxidants. And again, just to give you guys more information on oxidative stress. Oh, sorry, no, not there yet. Research shows that consuming dark chocolate made up of at least 70% cacao may improve brain plasticity. And you guys, we've already learned about brain plasticity. So, you know, at least 70% cacao dark chocolate can help improve that function of the brain. It may provide other brain-related benefits. It has also the flavonoids that we already mentioned in the berries, which encourage neuron and blood vessel growth in areas of the brain involved in memory and learning, and also stimulate blood flow in the brain. Okay. Turmeric. I'm sure you guys have heard about this. This is like a very, very popular substance that's been promoted in a lot of health magazines, and I'm sure if you guys follow, like, you know, those health guru people on Instagram, turmeric is brought up a lot, and for good reason. It's a very potent antioxidant and anti-inflammatory, much like ginger. Ginger is also here. Instead of giving ginger its own slide, I kind of just grouped it on here. I threw it on here, but ginger is also another one for that, another great brain food for this same reason. Turmeric contains curcumin, sorry, and which is it's the active ingredient in turmeric. It's been shown to also cross the blood-brain barrier, which we've talked about, meaning it can directly enter the brain and benefit the cells there. It's been shown to ease depression. It also triggers the release of serotonin and dopamine in the brain. It promotes brain cell growth and improves memory in patients with Alzheimer's. Goji berries, that's another one. I love that one. That's actually one that I've recently gotten. It's became one of my favorite snacks. I think I have them somewhere here. I wish I could show you guys. But if you haven't seen them already, they're usually picked and dried for consumption. So they're this really small, they look like raisins, but like red. But you know, these are also great for adding into your smoothies. You can rehydrate them in your smoothies. You can just snack on them like how I do, or, you know, there's so many ways you can do it. It's known as the brain tonic in Asia. You know, it contains betaine, which is converted to choline in our body. And again, choline is an essential nutrient. So it's not being made by our body, but it's very important for our body. It's required for normal body functioning, and again, cannot be synthesized by the body at all. And thus must be obtained from a dietary source. Choline is usually grouped with the vitamin B complex and is essential for cell membranes and neurotransmission. Choline also plays an important role in modulating gene expression, cell membrane signaling, lipid transport metabolism, and early brain development. So choline is huge for all things related to brain. It's goji berries is, again, a tremendous antioxidant. One thing I haven't mentioned is the ORAC units, which is the oxygen radical absorbance capacity scale. Basically, that's a fancy word to say how well can this thing basically get rid of those radicals. Oxidative stress, it's basically, for those of you who've taken chemistry, free oxygen molecules, but with a negative charge to them. So they're very unstable and they want to pick up hydrogens. And so that's what they end up doing. And that's what causes oxidative stress. So ORAC units is basically, which goji berries has a very high number of ORAC units. Basically, that just means it has a really good capacity to reduce these oxygen-free radicals. And again, those radicals have a huge detriment on our DNA. It could, lead to mutations, cancer, premature aging, dementia, Alzheimer's, etc. And lastly, matcha. Green tea is traditionally known to induce mental clarity, cognitive function, physical activation and relaxation. But matcha has a very high concentration of green tea phytochemicals, which this is where you'll get the most benefits of that. And it's frequently referred to as a mood and brain food. So it's not just brain food, it's mood food. It helps you, it improves the mood as well. And I love it in my boba teas, as you see on there in the illustration. And so, conclusion, I know there was a lot of other foods that I did not mention, which are great. And there's a lot of more research out there that's showing that, other foods can also be really good brain foods. But again, we talked about the therapeutic order. We went through the determinants of brain health, the self-healing brain, and supporting and restoring the brain, which we delved into more by talking about brain food. So eating these brain foods are going to support and restore the brain. It's going to promote that self-healing, and lead to better brains and better students overall. And my resources are there for your reference. And I don't mind.